ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, I'm gonna be talking about Wonder Woman #6, written by Tom King with art by Daniel Sampere and color by Tomeo Mori. Okay, so this issue is the finale of the Outlaw story arc. This has been a huge buildup, and while it's not the overall finale of the story of your Amazons being persecuted because of the actions of one, it is not the finale of that, but it is the finale of the opening salvo of Tom King's run on Wonder Woman thus far, and it does not disappoint. And in the previous video, I talked about how the Sovereign, who is the new big bad villain, who is not only a villain in the story, but also the narrator of every issue of Tom King's Wonder Woman thus far, as he is telling the story of his interactions with Wonder Woman to her future daughter, Trinity. We discover what actually happened when the Sovereign sent the combined might of Wonder Woman's entire rogues gallery after her. In the previous issue, we saw characters like Circe, Dr. Psycho, Angleman, Silver Swan, Giganta, and Grail. We saw all these characters brought together for various reasons and purposes, and now we know exactly why the Sovereign brought them all together. Yes, we knew he was gonna send them all after her at once, or at least kind of, but he had an actual plan, a plan that I feel like on paper probably would sound good to anyone who is a normal person and wants to take down a woman the likes of Wonder Woman. But as an outsider looking in, looking at this objectively, there really is no reason why the Sovereign should have believed that any of this was going to work. And I actually talked about this in my previous video for Wonder Woman #5. If you have not checked out that video and you want to do so, you can go check it out up here. But in that video, I kind of mused about how a lot of these characters have actually teamed up before to take on Wonder Woman with not so good results. Now, granted, all of them together have never worked in tandem with one another, but a great many of them have. All that aside, the plan, at least at first, seems solid enough. But one thing that is probably the most heartbreaking aspect of this is that he uses Dr. Psycho and Angleman, which, by the way, Angleman, his purpose in this is using his patented triangle, placing it over Dr. Psycho to amplify his power and manipulate Steve Trevor's mind. It seems like what he's trying to do is give him an aneurysm of some sort by way of a psychic attack. And because Steve Trevor is a guy who has worked very closely with superheroes over the years, he has defenses in place, as a smart person would, that would protect him from psionic attacks. And that's a lot of the reason why it takes a minute for Dr. Psycho to pull one over on Steve Trevor. And we're never really specifically told what Steve Trevor's fate is. I don't believe Steve Trevor is actually dead, but he is definitely unconscious. He has definitely been negatively affected in some way that very likely is going to put him out of commission for quite some time, but we don't really know the truth behind whether he is in fact actually gone permanently or just incapacitated at this point. But the point of all that was to lure Wonder Woman into a trap, and that's exactly what Steve Trevor was meant to do. Not that he knew he was doing this, or at least not willingly doing this, but once he is passed out, that is when Giganta and Circe strike. This is probably one of the most straightforward aspects of the whole thing, because once again, Circe and Giganta worked together in the past in tandem with other characters to try and take down Wonder Woman, and both have failed miserably. But in this instance, they do actually manage to catch Wonder Woman off guard. But once again, this is Wonder Woman versus Giganta, a fight that is really only going to go about roughly one way. It would have gone with Giganta being laid out on the ground if not for the fact that Silver Swan swoops in at the last possible second before Wonder Woman can take Giganta to the ground. And Silver Swan, while she definitely deals with some mental health issues, one of the things we notice is that she's not actually trying to hurt Wonder Woman. In her own twisted, weird mind, she thinks she's saving Wonder Woman for one reason or another. And I actually talked a little bit about this in my previous video, but one of the things that you kind of have to take note of, regardless of whether this is the Prime Earth or New Earth continuity version of the character, they have a very weird relationship with Wonder Woman. And in the Prime Earth continuity especially, she has this sort of jealousy and unrequited love type of deal going on between herself and Wonder Woman. So it's here where I guess she does feel like deep down maybe Wonder Woman is her friend. While Wonder Woman is dealing with Silver Swan, Giganta takes this moment to lift the Washington Monument out of the ground and try to impale Wonder Woman with it. And this would effectively have struck down Silver Swan as well. And the thing that's really amazing about this, and I've even seen some people kind of freak out about this online, you know, freaking out that the Washington Monument's been desecrated in a comic book, which, let's be fair here, it's not like Wonder Woman did this to the Washington Monument. It was a villain that did this to the Washington Monument. Why are we getting upset? Why are we acting like a villain would have any reverence for the Washington Monument more so than, you know, any other building or structure in the world? But the point is, she uses it to impale Wonder Woman, and while initially both Sarge Steel and the Sovereign believe that Wonder Woman is toast after this, believing that no superhero could withstand the combined might of all this, which I find it funny when you consider that characters like Superman have withstood stuff like this before, Green Lantern, so on and so forth. But yes, Wonder Woman, for whatever reason, he just believes, and I guess that's his misogyny, you know, talk. He's got a little misogyny on the side of his mouth right there he needs to wipe off. But yes, he believes she's toast, and she is not. Diana is proving her strength, her worth. Diana is a very powerful character, and I feel like this is one of those situations where the Sovereign has all the information, and yet at the same time he doesn't. He is falling prey to the same things that have always kept Dr. Psycho from beating Wonder Woman in the past, and it's his misogyny. He just doesn't believe that a woman could do the things that she does. And that's why when you read Sovereign's narration across all these issues, and it seems like while he doesn't like Wonder Woman, he does speak to her in some form of reverence, at least in terms of respecting what she's capable of, not so much that he likes what she's capable of. The reason why is because he is seen firsthand now. He has learned the formula of fuck around and find out.
As you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
Wonder Woman just takes the Washington Monument from Giganta and flings it back in her face. So pretty much every piece that the Sovereign has placed on the field to take down Wonder Woman is out of the picture, because Dr. Psycho and the Angleman, they are both knocked out because everything they did to Steve Trevor, as well as also trying to manipulate Diana's mind to make her stay in place while Titania tried to impale her with the Washington Monument, all of that took them out. Cersei is taken out because she used too much of her power to try to keep Giganta hidden from Wonder Woman until it was the last minute. And Silver Swan, well, she got knocked out when the whole attack happened in the first place, with Giganta trying to impale Wonder Woman. Everyone is off the table right now, except for Grail.
Business is about to pick up here.
And Grail is coming into the fight fresh. Grail is coming in as a character who is very evenly matched with Wonder Woman in terms of power and abilities, and maybe with a couple of bells and whistles that Diana doesn't have, but for the most part, on the power scale, these two women are not that far apart from one another. And Grail comes in fresh. Diana is already beaten, battered, and bruised. And what I love here is how Tom King has the Sovereign speaking of the moment, speaking as if, oh, this is one of the greatest fights in the history of the DC Comics universe. And everyone wants to claim that they were there to see it. People on the street claim they were close enough to hear the punches from like a block away. Politicians are talking about how they would have stepped in had they only had the opportunity to do so. The president of the United States, even themselves, is talking about the situation, where of course we're talking about a comic book. I'm not talking about this as if it's real life, but it reminds me of real life things like, where were you when this happened? Where were you when Michael Jordan pulled off the three-peat? Where were you when the Berlin Wall got taken out? Where were you when the Challenger blew up? Where were you when JFK got shot? Like, this is the type of reverence this fight is being talked with. And I don't want to necessarily compare to like a 9/11, but I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing when 9/11 happened. And that's kind of how I feel like the drive towards like, this is what it's going to be in the DC Comics universe. People are going to be talking about this in those kind of ways. Where were you the day Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, went toe-to-toe with several supervillains almost all at once? But Tom King does an expert job of giving us the pathos of Wonder Woman, helping you if you are, for whatever reason, someone who is unfamiliar with the character. I think everyone really knows who Wonder Woman is, but I don't think a lot of people know how Wonder Woman is. It's kind of like you could not like rock and roll, but you're still at least vaguely aware that a band called Metallica exists. I feel like Wonder Woman is one of those types of characters, like even if you don't read comics, you know the name Wonder Woman, but that doesn't mean you know anything about her. And that's what I kind of feel like Tom King is doing with this, is that he is showing that anyone who might possibly be coming into this cold, not knowing anything about the character, he is giving you every single reason why Diana Prince is the character she is today, and showing you just how much of an enduring, and I would even say very hopeful and heroic character Wonder Woman can be, just in terms of how she handles each and every one of these situations, even to the point where, going back to Silver Swan, she doesn't have to save Silver Swan, and yet she risks her own life to do so, just showing you the type of character she is. Like, I know some people like to think that, oh, she's got the same morals and standards as Superman, when actually Wonder Woman kind of does, but not really. Like, Wonder Woman, the fact that she was willing to risk herself to save Silver Swan should tell you a lot about her as a character, because Wonder Woman is the type of person that the running joke in comic book shops is that if you lived in the DC Comics universe, if you had to pick between which 3 superheroes you ran into, if you were a super criminal, between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the last one you would want it to be is Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman would possibly kill you. Wonder Woman is also, while she is a nurturing character, she's also a tough love character, and it really just depends on who it is she's interacting with at the time. She's not gonna just clown regular people, but she's also not going to coddle them either. And the fact that she's going up against Grail, a woman who's evenly matched with her, yeah, she's gonna go to town on Grail, and she does. They both give each other their best. Anyone who has been following me on Twitter, you probably have noticed I've been watching and reading a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen as of late. And honestly, this fight reminded me of something that you would see in that series. And I don't mean so much in terms of the things that they are doing, but just the raw intensity of the fight itself. Like, for a few minutes, I had to remind myself that I was not reading something like a Jujutsu Kaisen. And at the end of the day, Grail is gonna take the L. And not only does Grail take an L from Wonder Woman in this issue after what is effectively one of the most grueling fistfights in the history of DC Comics, Wonder Woman either A, breaks Grail's neck, or B, cracks Grail's skull. And I'm leaning more towards B, just based on what we see in the imagery, the way it is depicted. Wonder Woman giving her the last one-hitter quitter to lay her down once and for all. You see this tremendously large onomatopoeia on panel that just says crack. We even see some stars like around her head as she takes the hit. Just that said, Grail is not dead from this. I mean, it takes a lot to take her down. She is the daughter of both Darkseid and an Amazon, for Christ's sakes. She is not gonna go down that easily. However, this right here, to me, is the definitive Wonder Woman throwdown. But even though Grail gets laid out in this issue, Wonder Woman, she falls as well, though she falls last. She fights the good fight. She stands tall in the face of what is probably some of the greatest adversity she has ever faced. And I'm not even just talking about Amazons being persona non grata in the United States, but just the fact that she has faced one of her deadliest enemies after she has fought most of her core rogues gallery. It just tells you how much of a badass Wonder Woman can really be. You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.